And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with your host, Susie Ross.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for this special edition of Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Susie Ross. This week, we're bringing you a look back at some of the favorite stories we've aired here on Cattleman to Cattleman. Let's take a look. Beef producers have adopted a variety of technologies to improve their production, but one thing hasn't changed: their commitment to preserving the environment and producing a great-tasting, safe product. Kevin Ochsner reports.
Beef production still takes good cattle, good pasture, quality feed, and careful management. But just like advancements in science have improved everything from our pickups to our homes, science has also improved our nation's ability to produce safe, abundant, and affordable beef.
What we've done in essence over the last 50 years is increase the gas mileage of our agricultural system. So we're getting twice as much out of every acre of land and every input. And that, on the whole, is an incredible benefit. When we can get our food supply from half as much land, we can leave a lot of land for other uses, such as wildlife habitat, recreation, other human needs.
Alex Avery, who has studied plant physiology and crop development, is an expert at the Hudson Institute's Center for Global Food Issues.
One of the things that we found clear cut is that modern technologies have helped us produce more from less. And that, on the whole, is an incredible environmental benefit that most people don't stop to think about.
Tracy Bruner is representative of today's farmers and ranchers who have put modern technologies to use in their own farming operations. We caught up with Bruner at a recent meeting with fellow cattlemen.
We're the fourth generation of Bruners to be producing beef. We have a diversified operation all the way from seed stock and ranching and farming to cattle finishing. We're very committed to improving the value of our land and leaving that land in better shape for the next generation of Bruners.
Growth promoting products are among the technologies that have helped improve cattle production.
Growth promotants, as used in our normal cattle and beef production process, increase the amount of beef that we are able to produce from the same amount of feed and land. In other words, lowering the cost of that beef to our ultimate customer. All products that we use are researched and tested and approved by the Federal Food and Drug Administration.
Dr. Woodrow Knight recently retired from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration after 35 years of service. During his career, he analyzed safety studies and supervised teams of researchers who studied the safety of animal health products.
The FDA itself is responsible for showing that the drugs are safe and effective for animals, and that the food from these animals that are treated with these drugs are safe for humans to eat. And so we are very, very comfortable when we say a product is safe in an animal.
Testing for safety doesn't stop with the animal or the beef produced by that animal.
Even before the companies start testing the product, they must do an environmental assessment to tell us what they expect might happen.
An animal health product is ruled safe and approved for use only after FDA testing demonstrates that the manufacture or use of the product does not have a harmful effect on the air, water, or other plants and animals in the environment.
Once a drug is approved, the sponsor is required to report to the FDA on an annual basis its findings with the drug. Any changes in any new information that occurs in the literature, anything that's reported, the sponsor has to submit it to the FDA. If anything unusual happens, they have to submit it to the FDA immediately. The sophistication of the FDA scientists, they are well renowned as the experts in the world in food safety and animal drug production. In fact, most countries wait to see if the product can pass FDA scrutiny before they even allow it to be looked at in their country.
The real question is, are these thoroughly researched and approved products necessary to produce the world's food supply? Knight and Avery say yes.
They've reduced the amount of fat. They make the meat more lean, and in our opinion, that's a more wholesome product in terms of health issues
The use of growth promotants and other modern technologies have allowed us to increase the amount of edible beef per animal by 50%, which means we can get the amount of beef we consume, roughly 27 billion pounds a year in the U.S., from only 95 million animals. If we didn't use growth promotants and these other modern technologies, we'd need a beef herd of 180 million animals, which would produce significantly more waste, more methane, more CO2. So on the whole, when you look at the totality, we're getting a heck of a lot more with a heck of a lot less, and that's an environmental triumph. We'd need an additional 450 million acres to feed that many more animals. That's the amount of land that's in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Colorado, and Kansas.
And Avery believes the benefits of finishing cattle on grain cannot be dismissed.
People have a false impression of what a feedlot really is all about. And what they are is a place where we can finish the animals, add the flavor characteristics with the feed ration, and do it in a way that's incredibly responsible. Rather than having these animals distributed on a low productivity pasture-based system where the waste is scattered about, we have the animals in a central location where we can collect the waste, use it as a fertilizer resource, we can control the dust, and we can control the welfare of the animals far better. People long for the good old days, they do, but that's usually because they forget how bad the good old days were. We could go back to driving 1952 DeSotos, and they're neat looking cars, but they get terrible gas mileage and they're very unsafe. And when you look at what we've done in agriculture, it's very analogous. We've made it much more safer, more nutritious, higher quality, on a lot fewer resources. It's essentially the difference between that 1952 vehicle and today's modern hybrid automobile. It's critically important to produce more food from fewer resources because the world's population is set to increase another 50%. A lot more of those people in 2050 are going to be eating and demanding a high-quality diet. If we don't continue to increase the resource productivity of our farming systems, we're going to have to destroy a lot of wildlife habitat to meet those needs. That's something that nobody wants.
What I'm always comfortable about is that we in the United States are never uneasy about going into a restaurant anywhere in the country and eating.
And the bottom line is, it not only helps the American economy, but helps us produce great tasting beef for our customers here and abroad.
For more information about growth enhancement technologies, head to cattlemantocattleman.org.
I was just about to land on a fresh pile of manure when I was strangely attracted to this stuff on the wall. Quick Bait Spot Spray. That's good eating. Ooh, Quick Bait Fly Bait. I know it's gonna kill me, but I still love it.
Quick Bait, Fly Bait, and Spot Spray make a lethal combination to lure flies into certain death.
In 1874, an innovation changed the beef industry forever. It was called barbed wire, and it brought an end to open-range grazing and began a whole new era of cattle management. Today, there's another breakthrough innovation changing the beef industry. It's called Draxxin, and it's one more way Pfizer Animal Health is working with veterinarians and cattlemen to open up a whole new era in animal health. To learn more about Draxxin, talk to your veterinarian.
Purina's wind and rain minerals are research tested and field proven to provide balanced mineral nutrition essential for cattle health, growth, and reproduction. They're highly palatable so cattle consume what they need when they need it. And wind and rain mineral special formulation resists the elements so they won't blow out of the feeder and maintain their palatability even if they've been wet. Wind and rain cattle minerals from Purina Mills, building better cattle. And now, this week's Management Minute.
When you start to look at these calves, one of the main things we deal with is the level of depression. And depression is directly related to the level of acidosis in these calves that's due to their bicarbonate loss. Other things we want to look at are when you get your hands on these calves, if you'll open the mouth and look at their mucous membranes or their gum lines, they should be nice and pink. They should refill very nicely when you put a little pressure on it. Another area to consider that'll show you level of dehydration is how far the eye sinks back into the bony orbit. As these calves dehydrate, they lose fluid and these eyes will sink back in. A third area to consider is what we call the skin tent. And you just take the skin over the shoulder or over the neck and pull it up and let it go. If the calf has normal fluid levels or is hydrated normally, that skin will pop back down into its normal position very rapidly. Another area we really need to look at is take the body temperature of these calves. If they're less than 100 degrees or greater than 103, that's a calf that probably does need therapy. So when you evaluate these calves, be sure and include your veterinarian so that you can get your treatment protocols and rehydration protocols put together before the calving season starts.
Want to learn more about the industry issues that matter most to you? Join National Cattlemen's Beef Association and receive the National Cattleman Magazine and the Beef Business Bulletin. These members-only publications dig deeper into the stories that affect you and your operation's bottom line. Sign up today and receive a special gift. Call 1-866-USA-BEEF or visit beefusa.org.
NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, a television show by cattlemen for cattlemen.
Welcome back to Cattleman to Cattleman. With so many changes in today's marketplace, it's important to learn the right way to manage growth enhancement use to improve your operation's bottom line. Let's head to Iowa, where experts Daryl Strobene and John Lawrence have more.
Yeah, it'll get some hot weather. It'll have more grass than we know what to do with.
Yeah, I think that'd be the case.
You know, John, this morning you made a presentation to the industry in relationship to analyzing the costs and benefits of the feed technologies as well as pharmaceutical technologies. Before we get into those and make some points on that, you know, one of the things I think everyone needs to realize, those technologies were brought to the industry to, number one, ensure health and well-being of those products. They're very safe. They've been under the rigors of FDA, which really puts the clamps down on research, and we have to make sure that people understand that they're there for the healthiness of the cattle, the wholesomeness of our product, and also the safety of our food. That's really what they're all about. You shared some things on the cow-calf industry and looking at, you know, these products that we work with today both increase pregnancy rate as well as weaning weights. Do you want to expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, we looked at the pharmaceutical technologies of the cow-calf industry, focusing primarily on dewormers for the cow herd and implants, and looked at the key economic variables of pregnancy rates and weaning weights.
How'd you go about figuring out what the averages were of all these products? That's got to be a mind-boggling task.
Well, we looked at, in total, for the total study, over 170 research publications, and used a meta-analysis to combine those research results into a single distribution around a particular issue such as pregnancy rate. We took those numbers and put them into 6 regional budgets representing the cow herd across the United States. So we got the regional effect on cost of production.
Okay, you know, that sounds pretty good. What did you find out in relationship to if these products that we have out there, that if they're not available, what impacts are they going to have?
Well, a significant impact on the productivity of the dewormers. Had a 24% increase in pregnancy rate when the wormers were used versus not used. On a dollar and cent standpoint, that amounts to, for the dewormers, about $165 a head. We add in other things such as the growth promotants and fly control, other parasite controls. In total, these technologies are worth about $225 a head to the beef cow-calf herd.
That's pretty substantial, John.
It is.
You also covered the stocker side of things. You know, as we look at the vet and health practices area, typically, as I think of things, we're running about $10 a head on cost. You know, are these producers getting their money back or getting more than that back?
Oh, absolutely. We found a benefit of over $80 a head from these pharmaceutical technologies. We focused primarily on average daily gain from the stocker operations. They're mostly grass-based and forage-based. So really the bottom line is the pounds off the pasture. We found that, for example, the growth promoting implants had a 13% improvement in average daily gains, and parasite control was worth another 18%. But at the end of the day, it was worth about $80 a head for that $10 investment.
That's certainly substantial. You know, John, finally you looked at the feedlot segment of our industry. Certainly average daily gain and feed efficiency are very important to that industry. Certainly we can have a huge impact in relationship to how we do these. How did the pharmaceuticals look in relationship to the feedlot industry, and what did you find?
Well, we looked again across 5 or 6 different pharmaceutical technologies. If we look just at the growth promoting implants and the beta agonists, we saw an increase in average daily gain of 28% across all these research trials, and feed to gain decreased by 20%. So a significant impact from these technologies.
We're having quite a change in feed costs that are happening here in the last few months. Are producers supposed to look at these in a little different light? Should they change their strategies?
Certainly now more than ever, with a higher feed cost, feed efficiency and growth rate are more important. And so I think now is the time that these technologies will pay off even better than in the past. Bottom line, what we found was in kind of 2005 prices and cost figures, the pharmaceutical technologies we examined were worth over $126 a head in improved efficiency and improved average daily gain.
We've got to be thinking about this pharmaceutical area, how we can best utilize those, of course not abusing them as well. It's very important we use them correctly. Very interesting results. John, any last comments that you want to give us in relationship to the study?
Well, I think the key thing is that these technologies have had a significant impact on reducing cost of production for the producers. That's had direct benefits for the consumers as well. What we found is if producers stopped using these technologies, we'd see an increase in cost of production of over $400 a head from conception through to slaughter. With that, we would see a reduced cattle inventory, cattle slaughter would decline, U.S. production would decline, and consumers would reduce consumption somewhat, but imports would increase as other countries would step in to fill the void. But the bottom line is consumers would eat less beef at a higher price, producers would have higher costs, and profits would go down.
For more information on growth enhancement technologies, head to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org.
To some, it's just a pasture. But to you, it's part of a livelihood to be passed along. That's why Fort Dodge Animal Health developed Cydectin with pasture health in mind. Cydectin protects against performance-robbing internal and external parasites. And it's the only insecticide proven to have no adverse effects on beneficial dung beetle populations. Cydectin from Fort Dodge Animal Health, protecting your herd and your pasture, so they can both be passed along.
From fresh tomatoes to potatoes and chicken to beef, we're as picky about our quality ingredients as you are. Because that's what we're made of.
Welcome back to Cattleman. Low-stress handling can make working livestock more enjoyable. In this week's Cattle Learning Center segment, reporter Todd McCartney has tips from a fourth-generation West Texas rancher.
Proper handling is just as important when we're afoot in the corral as it was when we were in the pasture. Our expert on the topic is Joel Ham, a fourth-generation West Texas rancher who for the last nearly 20 years has studied and put into practice the low-stress methods of Master Stockman Bud Williams.
The first thing that I try to do when I approach cattle or any livestock is to get them to accept me. After they've accepted me, then I just need to get movement. I just need to ask them to move, because that's the basis. If I can't get them to move, I can't do anything. So my goal when I approach animals is not to go somewhere with them, it's just to get them to move. We're going to stay together right now because these cattle want to see us, and we want to give them one target to look at instead of two. I'm going to ask these cattle to move again, and I don't care where they move. But I just need to spend a minute or two teaching them that they can move, and then I also need to teach them that they can stop. These back ones are not moving because it's not their turn to move yet. So I'm not going to apply any pressure on the back ones. Cattle don't like to push and shove, and when they start pushing and shoving, then it just builds a stress in the herd. I have to let the cattle tell me where to get and what I need to be doing. If you'll watch these cattle, you'll see their whole countenance change within just a few minutes as they begin to accept us. We're going to teach them that even though we apply a little pressure and ask them to move, that we're going to take the pressure off. As I walk around these cattle, I'm going to walk in as straight a line as possible, because in their mind, then I'm just walking on by. If I arc around them, then I'm going to pull their attention on me even more than it is. And I want the cattle to move down that fence. So to do that, I'm going to move straight out so they can walk away from me down that fence and still see me without having to turn their head. It shouldn't matter what the cattle in the other pen are doing. We can't let that influence on what we're doing. Cattle are pretty simple, and so it's better to ask them to do one thing at a time instead of two. We need to get them to turn their heads and then move. Too many times we ask them to turn their heads and then move in the direction that we want them to all at once. I'm not going to wave my arms or make a lot of noise because I don't want the animal's attention on me. I need their attention on where I want them to go. Now they're learning that they can walk away from us and they don't have to turn their heads as much and keep track of us. If I want to speed the movement up, I can walk against their movement and it's going to tend to speed up the movement. I need these cattle to go out this gate. Now I've got some movement right here, so I'm going to work with the movement that I've got. I'm going to use these cattle as much as I can. I'm going to use the front cattle to pull the back cattle. I'm not really very concerned about the back cattle. Now that I've got movement going up the fence, I'm going to use that movement to pull these cattle out of the pen if I can. I've got to back up to allow these cattle to get in the movement. I want to get a little movement around the outside edge here. I don't want to stay over on this fence very long. If I do, it'll pull the cattle out to the left. I need to be out here. Again, I'm not worried about the back ones because the front ones are going to pull them out. Now to keep the cattle going, I need to go out here. Now to get the back ones, instead of going around behind them, I'm going to apply pressure into the front of them and they're going to go catch up because the front ones are going to pull the back ones. These are the gentle ones, so sometimes we have to ooch them along. I'm going to stay off to one side so they can see me out of their left eye without having to turn and keep track of me. I can see them trying to come back, so I need to speed these up a little bit. Now stop, Brooke. Back up, back up. If I can just rock back and forth, it'll encourage them to turn and walk away from me.
Low-stress cattle handling can also save time and money. Ahead, we'll demonstrate more of those skills as Cattleman to Cattleman continues. We'll be right back.
Like what you see on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman? Want to learn more? Become an NCBA member today and receive the National Cattleman Magazine and the Beef Business Bulletin for the latest industry news and innovations. Call 1-866-USA-BEEF or visit beefusa.org.
Welcome back to NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Let's head back to Todd McCartney and Joel Ham for more handling tips that can improve your stockmanship.
Most people, when attempting to use these techniques, are simply trying to force cattle more slowly. This won't work because force is force no matter how you use it, fast or slow, it's still force. If you try to move cattle by just moving slower, you're going to end up with cattle that are so gentle that they won't move at all. We need to learn to get in the proper position and apply pressure at the right time and release it so that they want to move. We need to fix it up so the animals want to go where we want them to go. Wherever I am or whatever I'm doing, whether I'm working 10 head or 1,000 head, these principles apply. If something's not going well for me, if I'll stop and think, I have violated one of these principles. They like to see you. They like to follow other animals. They like to go in the direction that they're facing. They don't like to be pressured from behind. They like to feel like they're doing what they want to do. And they like to go around you. They don't like you to go around them. And they prefer that you move in straight lines. And if I can remember these principles and work within these principles, things will go well for me.
We're seeing a lot of interest. What's creating that interest now?
The interest now is mainly due to economics. We know and understand that cattle are going to perform better if we handle them better, and also the availability of labor. In years past, we had an abundance of cheap labor. We've got a shortage of labor now, and it costs more. So there's a great need for fewer people to work more cattle.
A cowboy, a rancher, he's a stockman's clinician. Joel Ham makes it very clear that the results we get with our handling are directly related to our knowledge and understanding of how cattle think and react. Low stress makes for low cost, and good handling is good business.
If you want to learn more ways to improve your stockmanship, go to cattleman2cattleman.org to get a copy of our Low Stress Handling DVD featuring 3 career cowboys.
Thanks for watching this special edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. A new episode airs every Tuesday night at 8:30 right here on RFD TV.